April 6, 2021. We'll now call this meeting of the City Council of Laramie, Wyoming to order. And I'd ask you all to please join me in the socially distant Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Thank you very much. And let's have a roll call of the members present.
Cumbie.
Here.
Gabriel.
Here.
Harrington.
Here.
O'Doherty.
Here.
Schuster.
Here.
Felder.
Here.
Somerville.
Here.
Pierce.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
That's 9 present and 0 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, City Clerk. So we have the full City Council present. And move on to public comment. City Clerk, I know we have one person signed up ahead of time for non-agenda item related public comment. We'd like to go ahead and have them join us now.
Mr. Mayor, the comment that we received ahead of time was received from Timothy Bray, and he asked if we could read his comment for him tonight. Was that what he had sent to us already? Is that what he wants read in? That's correct. Yeah.
And I'm City Clerk, I'm unclear about protocol for that. Who would typically do that?
Mr. Bray asked if I would read it for him.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll recognize Councilmember O'Doherty to read that public comment. Thank you.
I'm going to try to cut it down a little, but Mr. Bray is a former special ops Marine educator, and he hunted human traffickers for nearly 20 years in Eastern Europe. He is used to collecting evidence, interviewing witnesses, securing public documents concerning police abuse. He was raised to live his life that all people are to be respected, show care and kindness for those doing wrong to the innocent. So initially I supported the Black Lives Matter effort. I even at my own possible safety ran interference and mediated between two groups whenever the situation dictated. As the days and weeks went on, I found myself in a very perplexing situation. Initially, the leadership were happy to have someone like me join them. I suppose they wanted someone who was militant. I'm not militant. I'm a professional peacekeeper and protector. I've come to the conclusion, and it disappoints me greatly, that the leadership of the Black Lives Matter movement wanted something to happen in order to bring attention to their cause. They did not want peaceful demonstration. It was a very tense time, and I believe strongly their actions were to antagonize the opposition group. I saw both sides trying to trigger the other in some kind of altercation. I believe once again the leadership's main objective was to create anarchism. I believe that the followers of the demonstration were mainly used as pawns. I know for the most part the group as a whole meant well in their hearts and honestly wanted positive change. I've always supported peaceful demonstration. I saw the Laramie police show a great deal of restraint and understanding. I think they acted most appropriately, even though they were in a difficult position. The leadership disobeyed the parameters of their demonstrations and spilled over into the street. I realized the Laramie PD was a bit frustrated with me running interference, but I think they understood I was trying to keep people safe as they were doing so. So I have to commend the officers and the leadership of the Laramie PD for their handling of the demonstration. I think it's the dawn of a new day for law enforcement in our community with the appointment of a new sheriff who I've had good conversations with, and with Assistant Chief Terry. I strongly feel we as a community are in very good hands with their leadership. These two are good men. I know firsthand that both are intelligent and deeply caring individuals that only want the best for our community. I can't help but wonder why someone wanted to eliminate or defund law enforcement. I've seen it operated in areas that were out of control and lawless, and I can assure those who take that position that you don't want that. I want to live in a peaceful community, not anarchy or police state. I'm positive we can continue to live in peace and harmony if we just remind ourselves that all lives matter. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Councilmember O'Doherty, for reading Mr. Bray's comments for us. City Clerk, do we have anyone that has arrived that is... Yes, I do see someone in our attendees with a hand raised. So I'll call on Paul Montoya. Mr. Montoya, you have the floor. Go right ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Weaver and council members. My name is Paul Montoya. I'm a resident of Albany County. In my non-agenda presentation this evening, I'd like to address the environmental impact study that has been released by Western Area Power Administration regarding the rail tie wind project. This was released last Friday. It's a big document. It's about 357 pages, and there's 20 supporting technical reports. And I have yet begun to just take a lot of it in. But one thing that really stood out was the section on aesthetics and visual resources. Basically, they've outlined that there'll be at least potentially moderate to strong impact from the rail tie wind farm on 353,930 acres of Albany County. They set up what they call key observation points. They identified 13 of these, and according to the EIS study, 76% of the identified points would have moderate to strong impact. The observation points included tie siding, of course, the Buttes, Ames Monument, Fish Creek, South Laramie at City Ranch Road, Mortenson Lake National Refuge Area, and Medicine Bow and Vidavoo Recreation Area. Their comment was that the landscape would appear substantially to severely altered, in their words. I'm representing Albany County for Smart Energy Development, and I'd like to recommend and hope that the City of Laramie would possibly consider supplying comments to the Western Area Power Administration during this EIS comment period, recommending a no action alternative to be taken due to the significant visual impacts to a large part of our county and the City of Laramie. We are not an anti-wind or anti-solar group, but we do feel that this is a very poorly cited project, and we would love to have the City of Laramie support in this. If you have any questions for me, you can reach me individually, montoya.paul@gmail.com. You can feel free to even call me if you like, and I can always supply the clerk with my phone number. That's all I have. Thank you very much for listening, taking the time.
Thank you, Mr. Montoya, for taking time in the evening to share your perspective and points of view with the City Council. I'm looking to see if anyone else in our attendees list has raised a hand to speak to non-agenda items, and I do not see anyone. I do see we have a couple of phone numbers on there. I want to make sure that those folks have an opportunity to notify the clerk if they're looking to speak and haven't been able to use the video conference program buttons to let us know. Just taking a brief second to do that before we move on. Well, I'm not seeing any indication, and there will be another opportunity to speak to non-agenda related items later in the meeting. So we'll move on. And that'll bring us to item 5, which is the Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I move that the following changes to the agenda be approved. We have one change this evening. It's on item number 29 regarding executive session. We are going to remove our discussion related to land negotiation.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yeah, Vice Mayor, I'm sorry, but did you move for that change?
I believe I did.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second from Councilmember O'Doherty. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand on the screen.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Vice Mayor?
I move that the agenda be set as changed.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second from Councilmember Gabriel that time. Same procedure. Raise your hand and say aye.
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 Aye. And the motion carries, and that change has been made to our agenda. Item number 6 now, proclamations and presentations. We do have a proclamation that's amusing, in my opinion, tonight, which I believe will be presented by the Assistant City Manager. It's amusing now. It wasn't when it happened. Assistant City Manager Feeser, welcome. How are you?
Coming on board, Honorable Mayor. I do not have the proclamation open. Would you like me to go ahead and read it into place?
I would like that. I think that would be appropriate.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, in recognition of the snow removal efforts by the City of Laramie Streets, Parks, and Facilities Division, this is that proclamation. Whereas the storm named Snowpocalypse 2021 dumped approximately 18 to 30 inches of snow accompanied with wind gusts of 40 miles per hour across much of southeast Wyoming, and whereas the Laramie received over 18 inches of snow with high winds making roads impassable, closing businesses, disrupting emergency services, and shutting down most governmental operations. And whereas the City of Laramie Streets Division began the process of snow removal on March 14, 2021, conducting work in continuous 24-hour shifts. And whereas the City of Laramie Streets Division provided plowing for emergency assistance and conducted efforts well beyond the city's snow removal plan. And whereas the City of Laramie Parks and Facilities Divisions began the process of snow removal on March 15, 2021, in an effort to open city facilities and amenities as quickly as possible. And whereas all divisions involved with snow removal have and will continue to remove snow as needed to assist with recovery efforts from this historic event. And whereas the efforts of these crews have not gone unnoticed by the residents, businesses, organizations, and others they serve by many signs of appreciation. And whereas the efforts of these crews have not gone unnoticed by their co-workers, supervisors, and the Laramie City Council. And now, therefore, Paul Weaver, the mayor of the Laramie City Council, do hereby proclaim our sincere thanks to the Streets, Parks, and Facilities snow removal crews for their extraordinary efforts during Snowpocalypse 2021, and encourage our residents to applaud these crews for their efforts in making Laramie safe through this event.
Thank you. Go ahead, Assistant City Manager.
Absolutely. Honorable Mayor, I was kind of involved through the whole process, and I can't tell you how appreciative I am of the Streets, Parks, and Facilities crews keeping me informed and staying on top of it, and really just producing something that I was really proud of what they accomplished. And I think it's fair to say that we have an excellent team, top to bottom, with the City of Laramie, and we're blessed to have those folks working for us and conducting that service as diligently as they could to keep this community safe and open.
Thank you, Assistant City Manager. And I think that the council resoundingly agrees with that. I appreciate you reading that on my behalf. We have, from time to time, adopted a practice of having folks that were involved with a committee or a project read those proclamations in, just because they have that familiarity. I also want to thank you, Assistant City Manager, for your diligence that weekend of that huge storm, with staying in touch with everybody on the council through email and everything else to let us know what was going on, the general approach to that, because that was a big old Wyoming snow, and it did get in the way of a few things. And speaking to some of the substance of that proclamation, I know we've received a number of emails from people saying, you know, I really appreciate what the city did. They really got up there and took care of it for our neighborhood as soon as they had a chance. And those things are absolutely noticed by members of this community, our residents and other folks that are here doing business, things like that. And we we've said this before, and I don't think we can say it enough. We understand that's a lot of work for our city crews. And they do it reliably, effectively, and without complaint, and we really appreciate it. The community really appreciates it, and no more so than on occasions like snowpocalypse. I don't really remember what the name of that storm was, but they should have called it that from the get-go.
Honorable Mayor, I actually looked it up, and I do believe they named it Snowpocalypse. So I don't think I was creative enough to make that up. But you know, on the line tonight, we've actually got Glenn Zweig, Scott Hunter, Tyler Shevling, Brooks Webb, all folks that were somewhat involved with making sure the snow removal happened and went as efficiently as possible, and want to make sure that we recognize those folks that came in, that showed up tonight. Yeah, absolutely. And those of you that joined us tonight on the Zoom call, thanks for being here. But more importantly, thanks for that work that you do. And we did receive emails from Laramie residents saying how much they appreciated what was done for them and the time frame that it was done in. That was quite a little weather event. What I'd been telling a lot of my friends is I used to remember storms like that in the 1980s. I don't remember one quite that big and bad in recent memory. That was a lot of snow in a very short period of time, and you guys helped the city of Laramie take care of it. So, just thanks again. Thanks again. Let's see. I think we have another proclamation. It's a bit of a walk-on item, and I'm going to recognize the city manager for that.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate the opportunity to recognize one of our staff members for a significant accomplishment this evening. Our city clerk, Nancy Bartholomew, last week was notified by the International Institute of Municipal Clerks that she's earned her designation as a certified municipal clerk, or CMC. Those are the credentials you might see on her letterhead going forward. A little bit about what it takes to become a certified municipal clerk. It requires 60 education points, which equates to about 120 hours, and then 50 points, which equates to about 100 hours of experience. Nancy also, in addition to completing coursework and demonstrating proficiency in the field, so to speak, in her office, also needed to be an active member in good standing with the Institute of Municipal Clerks for 2 years, and then embrace and uphold the code of ethics that this association maintains. So I wanted to recognize Nancy. We've prepared a certificate of achievement. You can't see it because of the background. And this is awkward to make a presentation surprising somebody on Zoom. So I'm going to walk around to her side of the building and present the certificate to her. So my video will stop, and then we'll connect over on her video.
Thank you. I almost stopped you.
While the city manager is walking that document over there, Nancy, some of our city council here has had the opportunity to serve on this council with a couple of different clerks, and I can tell you that we all recognize, although we never say it often enough, how incredibly vital the role of the city clerk is, and how extremely important it is to have a city clerk that's on top of things for us. And we really appreciate the job that you're doing for the city of Laramie, for the city council. I notice it every meeting. I notice it in the way that you stay on top of communications with us. And it's just so incredibly valuable. We're so glad that you're the city clerk for the city of Laramie and this city council. And we couldn't do anything without you. And we appreciate you so very, very much. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Here's your certificate. Congratulations. And we invited Nancy's family as well, so they've come to recognize her achievement.
that's a treat for the city council. Hello, Nancy's family. Nancy's one of our favorite people. We like her a lot. Yeah. Thank you for joining us tonight and letting us tell you how much of an important part of the city of Laramie she is. And thanks for the work on that, Nancy. That sounds like that sounds like a college class or two worth of trainings. It's paying off because you're doing a great job for us. Anyway, it's nice to be able to recognize that. Thank you, City Manager, for that presentation. Really,
You're welcome.
It's nice to be able to do that. Okay, I'd like to keep talking about how much I like Nancy, but I think we better move on because she's turning like 50 shades of red over there. So, okay, all right. So let's give our city clerk a break and move on and talk about some announcements. City Manager, I think you had said that probably we'd want to go to. Oh, City Clerk. Yeah. Oh, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm transitioning back to a speaker here. Mr. Mayor, we do have 2 public hearings before announcements tonight.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's my just my usual inability to run the meetings properly. So that's why it's even more important that you're here, City Clerk. Let's go ahead and go to the public hearing. And why don't we get the notice for the public hearing read in by our City Clerk.
Notice is hereby given that on the 16th day of March 2021, an application was received in the office of the City Clerk for a transfer of retail liquor license number 8 from the 307 Office LLC doing business as Copper's Corner to Copper's Bar LLC doing business as Copper's Liquor Lounge located at 867 North 3rd Street, Laramie, Wyoming, 82072. Public hearing to hear comments or protests relative to this liquor license application will be held Tuesday, April 6, 2021 at 6:30 via Zoom webinar through council chambers of City Hall. Action on these applications will be considered at the regular meeting of City Council on Tuesday, April 6, 2021 at 6:30 in council chambers. All information relative to this matter is available for review at the City of Laramie City Clerk's office at 406 Ivinson Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. Anyone wishing to be heard should be present or may be represented by his or her agent at the meeting.
Thank you. So we'll have the public hearing open now and see if there's anyone wishing to speak during this unlimited public hearing time to this issue. Of course, I am looking at our attendees list. I don't see anyone indicating that they want to speak to this issue, but we'll give it just a moment before we close it and move to the next one. Sometimes there are representatives from the business that are here that might want to say a word or two, and the public hearing is certainly an appropriate time to do that, although it's not required or expected by any means. I just offer that by way of invitation for anybody that might want to say anything to the council. But seeing none, and without objection, we'll close the public hearing and move on to the next public hearing. And I'll turn that over to the City Clerk.
Notice is hereby given that on the 16th day of March 2021, an application was received in the office of the City Clerk for a renewal of liquor license number 8 for Copper's Bar LLC doing business as Copper's Liquor Lounge located at 867 North 3rd Street, Laramie, Wyoming, 82072. Public hearing to hear comments or protests relative to this license application will be held Tuesday, April 6, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom webinar through council chambers of City Hall. Action on these applications will be considered at the regular meeting of City Council on Tuesday, April 6, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. in council chambers. All information relative to this matter is available for review at the City of Laramie City Clerk's office at 406 Ivinson Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. Anyone wishing to be heard should be present or may be represented by his or her agent at the meeting.
Thank you very much, City Clerk. And same as the last time, if there's anybody that wants to speak during this public hearing on this item, you have an opportunity to do that without limitations now. And I don't know that there's anybody here, but if there is, that's certainly your invitation to do so, and you are welcome to. We'll give it just a minute. Not expected or required by any means. City Council, I don't see anybody that's approached us to speak to this issue. City Clerk, I don't know if anybody has contacted you one way or the other. Well, seeing no, thank you, City Clerk. Seeing none and without any objection, we'll close that public hearing and continue to move on now. And thank you very much for reading those public hearing notices in, City Clerk, especially after maybe needing a minute. That's all right. All right, so we have announcements, and we talked a little bit about this. I think City Manager, we were going to ask the Assistant City Manager to give us some updates about something.
Actually, Mayor, I'll go first, and then Todd, and then Brooks in Public Works. So we were asked to just share some information with the public about the COVID vaccine eligibility. I'm looking at the Albany County Public Health website, and so I would encourage folks to go directly there. That address is www.publichealthlaramie.org, and on that front page, there's a very distinct COVID link. As you know, and the public should know, the vaccine is now available to anybody 16 years of age and over, and pretty much any information that you would like to have can be found on Albany County Public Health website. So I would suggest folks go there. You can get information about the vaccines themselves. You can figure out how to schedule an appointment for a vaccine, not only through the master list, I guess I would say, that Public Health is maintaining, but also some information about how to contact your primary care provider if you'd like to get the vaccine through that office visit opportunity. So with that, if you have any additional questions, Council, I'm happy to answer them, but we do, as I said, have announcements as well from the Assistant City Manager and then from Public Works Director Brooks Webb.
Thanks, Janine. Honorable Mayor, City Council. Couple of quick announcements. Want to announce that ice season is over at the Laramie Ice and Event Center, and a little bit of an update on the numbers up there. We had over 7,260 public skaters attend this season, 1,725 stick and puck skaters, 581 United States figure skating participants. We rented 2,068 pairs of skates, 305 pairs of skates from the Sharp, and 305 pairs of skates. Held 63 LAHC home games and held 23 Team Wyoming and Wyoming Cutthroat team practices. So even through COVID, we had a very busy ice season and very successful. And right now they're getting ready to host the Home and Garden Show here in a couple weeks. A little bit, if Nancy could put up and share the screen, the blue sky update. A little bit of an update. Both the solar system arrays are running. We've finished the first public display at the Ice and Event Center, and we're working on finalizing the rec center and the Laramie High School. But as part of the Blue Sky, we do participate in their Blue Sky Renewable Energy Program by purchasing blocks. And our thank you from last year, if you see, in 2020, we reduced our carbon footprint by over 9,000 pounds of carbon dioxide. We supported 6,000 kilowatt hours of renewable energy, and 9 solar panels we provided the energy that 9 solar panels would generate in a year. And I just thought it'd be a nice update to let you know about what we're doing with Blue Sky. Another update, installation number 2 of the Snowy Range Art is planned to happen on Monday the 19th. If you remember last time we installed one, I think we got a major snowstorm, so you might get your snow shovels out to go along with this one. But on the west side of the Story Range Road Bridge project is the final art pad, and that will be exhaling dissolution, which is a mixture of cottonwood bark and steel, and it should be installed on Monday the 19th. A little bit of an update at the rec center. We're doing refer a friend incentive, where if you refer a friend as a member and your friend joins, you each receive a $20 credit towards use at the recreational facility to try to encourage people to come back to the rec center. With that, Janine, I would like to pass community cleanup updates and information over to Derek before we pass it on to Brooks.
Okay.
Council, thank you. So as springtime rolls around, it is community cleanup time. And like we do every year, we'll be doing community cleanup days May 1st through May 15th this year. The event is going to be a little bit kind of like we did last year with some social distancing and things. Not quite back to our normal self, but getting closer. We will be doing it spread out through those days. So that's part of the effort in helping that. We will, though, this year be handing out trash bags and vests from 7:30 to 9 a.m. on the front steps of City Hall. So that's 406 Ivinson on Saturday, May 1st and on Saturday, May 8th. So if you are a group, a person, or anyone who wants to do cleanup event or participate in this cleanup event, you can contact the offices at 721-5285. We want to know where you're going to be at and make sure that we're not having duplicate efforts. But also it's important because if we need to get you trash bags, and if you fill up trash bags, you can just leave them there and we'll come back by and pick them up, and it helps ensure us that we can actually grab those bags and get them taken to the landfill and off the streets and off the areas that you're cleaning up throughout our community. If you go, when you contact us, we can give you some ideas if you just want to know where you can best help. We have a list of places that can really need it. And then also in conjunction with this, we will be doing the Laramie landfill vouchers. That kicks off on April 19th when Albany County residents can apply for that voucher. You can find those vouchers online at www.cityoflaramie.org/voucher. And you will able to get one of those, and they can be redeemed from May 3rd through September 18th. And so if you need more information on that, you can contact our solid waste division. Their number is 721-5279. And so this is just a great event, spruces up our community every spring, really gets us kind of ready for the summer and some of the best times in Laramie. So feel free to give our offices a call if you have any questions, and that's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I can't remember who we had next in line there for announcements. Was that you, Mr. Webb?
Yes, sir. Honorable Mayor, City Council, Derek stole some of my thunder. I just want to let you guys know that the landfill voucher program is kicking off this month. Residents can begin applying online on April 3rd or April 19th. This year, we extended the program, so it'll run from May 3rd to September 18th will be when the vouchers are accepted at the landfill. The voucher program is for all Albany County residents, no businesses. It's residential only. The program allows for one voucher per residence, good for one free load, and that loads 2.5 cubic yards roughly. So it's like a standard pickup truck load. Last year we went over to primarily online applications for the first time, and things went well. So we're encouraging residents to do that again this year. We will allow people to come into the office one at a time to get vouchers if they don't have the ability to print off at home or use the internet at home. Proof of residency is what's required. We ask for a utility bill, any kind of utility bill, water, trash, television, gas, internet, whatever. However, we do understand that some residents are not here for a long time, kind of part-time with school and are in and out. And so a lot of times their utilities are paid. So we work with the residents. We'll take a car registration, a rental agreement. We actually last year took a magazine subscription with the person's name on it. So we do everything we can to work with the resident to get them their voucher. Speaking of last year, I'll give you a couple stats on how the program went. Vouchers were issued between April 15th and June 4th last year. Again, this year we're extending that to September. That gave residents last year 51 days to apply for the voucher. 785 applications were received. We did deny 35 of those, and the reason for denial was that really primarily they were either businesses or we had duplicate requests from the same address. That was 99% of the reasons, and then we had a couple that people filed online and didn't provide any documentation at all. So a total of 750 vouchers were approved and issued. 609 of those were in-city residents. 141 of those were out-of-city residents. 92 residents requested that a voucher be mailed to them because they didn't have the ability to print, so we mailed off 92 vouchers. Vouchers were initially scheduled to be accepted from May 1st to June 6th, and at council's request last year, the city manager extended the June 6th deadline to September 15th. So out of the 750 vouchers that were issued, 415 of them were actually used at the site. A total of 154 tons of waste was received from the vouchers, which equates to $9,700 in fees that were waived for the public. In the upcoming weeks, the Solid Waste Division will be pushing out some public information through the city webpage, Facebook, and then local media, letting residents know the program is underway. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Webb. I would just add one quick note, which is that we've recently received some positive community feedback about that program. It's a very popular program and encourages people to do some cleaning up of the community. So thanks for all the info and updates about that. It's a good program, strong program. People are glad to have it. Okay. Do we have any other announcements? Does that take care of
No, Mayor, that's all.
Okay, thank you, City Manager. All right. Do we have any disclosures by City Council members on any of the items on our agenda tonight that haven't already been made? I don't know if we need further disclosures. I'm not really sure about how to handle this when we've had a couple of council members announce recusals. We have an item that 2 council members will be recusing themselves from tonight, and they've already communicated that to the council, and there's been no objection to it. So I think we'll just leave it at that. Any other disclosures by City Council members? Okay, thank you very much. That will bring us now to the approval of the consent agenda. I'm going to turn this over to our Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the consent agenda be approved and that each specific action on the consent agenda be approved as indicated.
Second.
So motion on the consent agenda with a second by Councilmember Somerville. Let's have a roll call vote.
Humby,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Schuster,
Yes.
Stalder,
Yes.
Somerville,
Yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, City Clerk. And that motion carries to approve our consent agenda. It's by way of a note. When we have individuals, volunteers that have signed up to serve on our boards and commissions. We would like to recognize that that's a time investment, a donation of time and expertise by working people to our boards and commissions. And we wouldn't be able to do the business of the city without those individuals willing to donate that time. In this case, we'd like to recognize and thank Dr. Kilwine for her willingness to serve on the Board of Health. It's an important committee and one that does very important work for the city of Laramie. It's not often given the same recognition as some of our other boards and commissions. Like a few of them can fly under the radar, but it is very important. And again, the work wouldn't be able to be accomplished without the time and commitment of Laramie residents. So we want to recognize and thank Dr. Kilwine for that, and all of our other board and commission volunteers, and encourage future applicants to those committees. All right. Thank you, everybody. Let's now move on to the regular agenda and to item number 11, which is Councilmember Schuster.
Thank
At
you.
least
The title is Resolution 2021-24, accepting the donation of funds for the Mr. Jerry Butcher to be used towards the High Plains Curmudgeon Society projects or as designated. I move that the City of Laramie approve Resolution 2021-24, accepting the donation of funds from Mr. Jerry Butcher, I think I mispronounced it the first time, to be used towards the High Plains Curmudgeon Society projects or designated, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Oh, I'm not sure who got the second on that. I'm going to give it to the vice mayor just because I recognize her voice above others. Thank you, Councilmember Schuster, for the motion. And there's motion and second. And I think we have Assistant City Manager Fieser to just give us a little bit of background on this one.
Correct. Honorable Mayor, City Council. If you are or aren't aware, we have the High Plains Curmudgeon Society, which we consider a group of semi-retired folks that do some volunteer efforts around for us. If you remember last year, we did the Disability Awareness Project at the Recreation Center, and they built all those events, or all those testers if you were doing a wheelchair test as you were going through. A great group of guys, but through them, they have a friend, Mr. Jerry Booker is how you say it, and he wanted to donate some funds to help not only ensure that the curmudgeons keep moving forward, but also, as he stated, he's enjoyed his life in our wonderful city, and that supporting projects conducted by the High Plains Curmudgeon Society will continue to assist the city of Laramie and improve Laramie's quality of life for our residents. I did invite Mr. Booker to attend tonight, and I'm not sure if he's actually made it to the meeting, and I don't see him on the list. Mr. Booker, if you are on the line, I think if you hit *6, maybe you could unmute. But, and then, unfortunately, one of our curmudgeons is in the emergency room, and the leader of their curmudgeons, Clint Phillips, is with them. But it's great to receive a donation. Our intent is to use it to match projects 50-50 to help to extend. And Mr. Booker has also indicated that he does plan on donating more funds in the future. One of the things that we did to make it a little bit easier is that if the curmudgeons do cease to provide volunteer services, Mr. Booker would like any unused funds to be used towards improvements for Laramie River Greenbelt. So we do have a way to use those funds in case we run out of projects or their curmudgeons cease to provide volunteer services. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the Assistant City Manager? All right, any comments about this item? I think it's always appropriate to share a thanks. This group of individuals has been helping out with fun and important Laramie projects for a number of years now, and they're really, really valuable. And we really appreciate it. Sorry to hear that news, but wishing people the best. And we'll have to figure out a way, since people couldn't be here tonight, to extend some further thanks. And Assistant City Manager, I'll get with you about maybe a way we can do that. Councilmember O'Doherty.
I just want to say they're the nicest curmudgeons you'd ever meet, and they built an amazing obstacle course for us last year for the disability awareness, and we're grateful to them and Mr. Bucher. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Doherty. Absolutely, it's really nice of folks to channel their energy, you know, as semi-retired or retired people. Although the more I learn about retired people, the less retired they seem to me, and that's probably a good thing. And we really do value that. So we'll do some following up with some other ways to communicate with that group, because they're just they're great. Okay, well, let's have I guess we need to ask for public comments on that. So before we go, we'll just make sure there are folks that if they're waiting to have an opportunity to speak to that, they can. I don't see any hands, but. Council members, I don't have anyone raising their hands. I don't have the city clerk indicating to me that anybody signed up. So without any objection, we'll just now move on to the roll call vote for the item.
Humby.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Schuster. Schuster.
I'm sorry, turned off my mic. Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Stalder.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
Unanimous vote for the curmudgeons, who we appreciate very much, and that motion carries. Now moving on to our next item on our agenda, which is item number 12, Councilmember Stalder.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the council approve the submission of a grant agreement for Airport Coronavirus Relief Grant Program by Laramie Regional Airport and authorize the mayor and city attorney to sign.
Second.
A motion and a second from Councilmember Schuster. And for this item for introduction, I have the city clerk listed, and I don't know if city clerk, do we want to just recognize Mr. Skinner if he's here? All right. Mr. Skinner, whenever I see you on the screen, there you are, sir. Jack Skinner, welcome to the city council meeting. You have the floor, sir.
Mayor and members of the council, what you've got before you tonight is a grant agreement with the FAA for Airport Coronavirus Response Grant Program. What it is a grant for $1,006,453. And what this grant is to be used for is to replace the lost revenues that we're experiencing due to the slowdown in airline, for instance, airline demand for airline tickets. All airports across the nation are experiencing reduced revenues. And so this helps with that. We can use this money for operational expenses on the airport. For example, we will use it for salaries, utilities, those types of expenses. And we have 4 years to use these funds.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Skinner. I'm going to ask the council members if they have any questions for you. I see Councilmember Gabriel.
Thank you, Mayor. Hey, Jack, I was just curious, could you just give the council a brief update on maybe some of the tough times the airport went through the past year, and maybe some optimistic update on what's going to happen here in the next few months during the summer?
Sure. I mean, as you probably all are aware, demand for air travel reduced. We really started to see our numbers dip March of last year and April of last year, we boarded about 63 passengers is all. It's starting to pick up a little, but we're not at the level that we were at in 2019, which was a record year for the airport as far as passengers. Our fuel sales the past year, we weren't as affected as bad, and that was mainly due to the fire. We sold a lot of fuel in August and September to the firefighting aircraft that were working that fire, so that helped regarding our revenues in the fuel sales category. But things are starting to pick up now. For instance, in March, I think we had 868 revenue enplanements, which I thought was, quite good considering, the mask mandates and the demand for travel is still fairly low. I see Brian's got a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that Councilmember Gabriel didn't have any follow-up.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Appreciate it, Jack.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. And which Brian from the City Council? That would be Councilmember Harrington. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Skinner, you touched on it a little bit. When I was looking through this, I was curious if these funds were applicable to fuel sales, because you've mentioned in previous times before the council that is a significant revenue source for the airport. You touched on it a little bit, that it was offset by the fire, presumably, and if we are at all lucky, we will not have that happen again. So are these funds usable to replace that loss of revenue if we see another slow summer, as the pandemic is not over? I think there's going to be some wariness to travel for some time. So I guess directly the question is just if these funds are usable to offset that loss of revenue as well.
Yes, they are. I mean, there's a FAA guidebook on what airport funds can be used as far as expenditures. So we have to follow those FAA guidelines regarding the requirements for airport expenditures. We are, some of our vehicles are starting to show a lot of wear and tear. So, we're looking ahead and planning on replacing some of our, our airport vehicles. Those types of things are eligible. We're upgrading some of the hangars that we own, to improve the infrastructure a little bit there, replacing windows and making them airtight, trying to make them so that we don't have the bird issues that a lot of hangars have. So, we're utilizing these funds to upgrade our facilities that need upgraded.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, great. All right. Anybody else? Questions for Mr. Skinner here? I'm not seeing any. Mr. Skinner, I just say, it's unfortunate timing for our community airport that so much work on the renovation project. That's been something I know that you've all been working on for a long time there. You just happen to coincide with the public health crisis that we've had. I mean, the public health crisis is obviously unfortunate timing no matter when it occurs, but just in particular with the airport, since it's also the beginning of kind of a new era with an upgraded airport and so many things going on out there. So it's good to know that there's going to be some of this federal safety net available for operations out there, and good to get some more information. It's particularly encouraging to hear that you're going to have a number of years to use that, because I think from what I've read and heard, which is not anything more than what's been reported in the media, is that the projections are it's going to take a couple of years for air travel to rebound from this. I wonder if you'd share with the council your views about what you think the timeline might be for local regional airports, and of course, in particular, our Laramie Regional Airport, in terms of when you estimate, or any guesses or comments even that you might have about that topic, Mr. Skinner, please. For rebound time is what I'm getting at.
Sure. For Mayor and members of the council, what we're seeing is that tourism travel is coming back quite quickly. What we're seeing, and I think this is nationwide, the business travel is lagging behind. Some of the experts that I've read have indicated, that it could take 4 to 5 years for business travel to come back. We also are wondering how it's going to affect, like what we're doing tonight with the Zoom and meeting remotely, if that's going to continue, or if eventually the business travel will rebound. But we're seeing some nice numbers for this summer, advanced bookings, and most of those are tourism travel. I think people are ready to get out and get to the mountains and get to, Laramie, Wyoming, and I think next fall it'll help with the, with the football season. That's always been a good numbers for us, and as far as travel. So I think those will come back. The business travel is the one that is going to lag behind.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing some insights on there. Regional airports are very important to everything that we're trying to do in Laramie, and I think we're all looking forward to when we get back to a time where FaceTime does not mean looking at a screen. So when we can do that safely, I think we're all going to be eager to do that as much as we can. Appreciate those updates. Any last comments or questions for Mr. Skinner before we let him go? All right. Well, we appreciate you joining us at the City Council tonight and sharing that information with us and talking to us about these support dollars that are coming through, and we're glad to hear about them. Let's go to a roll call vote on this item. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go to public comments on this item before we proceed to the roll call vote. And I will look and see if we have attendees who want to speak to anything on this item on our agenda. City Clerk, I think people are here waiting for their own agenda items that they'd like to speak on, but not this one. So without objection, let's move to the roll call vote.
Real.
Yes.
Stalder.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Humby.
Yes.
Was that me, City Clerk? Sorry, it cut out.
Harrington.
Yes. Thank you.
Schuster.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 noes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. That motion carries. And we'll keep moving on, folks. We'll now go to item number 13, which is Councilmember Stalder.
Thank you. I move the council approve the submission of a grant agreement for Airport Coronavirus Relief Grant Program Concessions Relief Addendum, that's a lot of words, by Laramie Regional Airport, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Sorry, that should have been mayor and city attorney to sign.
Second.
Thank you.
The motion and the second from Vice Mayor Pierce. And we will go ahead and just check. I'm not sure that there's any additional information that Mr. Skinner wants to share with us. I don't even see him on our screen anymore. I think he gave us a pretty thorough update. City Clerk, I see you nodding.
He is still with us, Mr. Mayor. This one's slightly different, so he might have additional information.
If he does, he's certainly welcome to join the City Council here on our screen and share with us any additional points.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. Go ahead, Mr. Skinner, please. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, what this is an addendum to the grant that offers some relief to our concessionaires. As you may know, we lost Hertz rental car during early part of the coronavirus. We're lucky enough to recruit Enterprise to the new terminal, so they have a counter at the new terminal. And so what this grant does is offer some relief for counter rent to any of the concessionaires that we have at the airport. And Enterprise is the only one that qualifies. So that's what this grant will do, or this addendum to the grant.
Thank you. Questions? Questions for Mr. Skinner? Not seeing any. I'll go ahead and ask you one. Make it worth your time for being here tonight, Mr. Skinner. So that's the only vendor that qualifies for this grant you shared with us is Enterprise. How many vendors do we have for various services at the regional airport?
Well, in the terminal, we've just has Enterprise and SkyWest Airlines, but the airlines is receiving some additional funding from the federal government, so they don't qualify under this grant. It's just for concessionaires. We have a little, we call it a bistro that the airport operates, but obviously that's airport driven. So that's not another concessionaire. So yes, the only concessionaire we have right now is the one rental car company.
All right, I appreciate that. Yeah, I wanted to hear just a little bit more about concessions out there, and looking forward to that future date when there's a whole bunch of extremely popular concessionaires out there, and people just want to go out there for lunch, whether they're taking a flight or not. It's going to happen. I can feel it. Any other questions for Mr. Skinner? Comments? Like I said earlier, community's pulling for the success of the regional airport and the partners out there. We really need it to be successful. Let's see if there's any public comments on this item. I'm not seeing anyone, and I'm not seeing any further indications. So without objection, let's go to a roll call vote on the item.
Felder.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Can't hear.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 noes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, City Clerk. That motion carries unanimous vote, and we appreciate your time, Mr. Skinner.
Thank you.
We will move it to the next item on the agenda, which is Councilmember Gabriel.
Thank you, Mayor. I would move that the council approve the contract between the City of Laramie, Wyoming, Dreamland LLC for the design, provision, and installation of new amenities at Labonte Park Skate Park in an amount not to exceed $190,000, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion is second by Councilmember Harrington. See that we've got Mr. Hunter from City Parks here. Go ahead and turn the floor over to you, Mr. Hunter, so you can talk to us about this project.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. This is the continuation of the skate park expansion in Labonte Park. We had requested funds, over the last couple of years to finish this out. Friends of Skate Park have raised enough money to help offset some of these costs. We just went out for RFQs back in January of 2021, we had 4 firms submit RFQs that met our requirements. California, Dreamland, Evergreen, and Phantom. We had 8 raters. A majority of those are skate park users. We did have a couple of parks individuals and regular households around the area to make some comments as well. They came back with Dreamland being the top. With that being said, Dreamland was the original firm that installed the bowl in the first place. They did good work. They have warranted their work, and they have kept in touch with the city of Laramie and the Friends of the Labonte Skate Park in the past. So with that being said, the funds are there, and this is the first step to get the contract signed, and then we'll go into design phase to try to use the money that we have in the best way possible. With that, I'll open it up to any questions or concerns, and I hope to be able to answer them the best I can.
That's all we expect, Mr. Hunter. No worries on that. Any questions for Mr. Hunter? I think the council is relatively familiar with this project. Go ahead, Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just really brief, Mr. Hunter, what's the expected completion date for this project?
So currently, after the contract has been signed by City Council, we will go out for design. The design phase is going to be the most variable part, depending on what the committee views as good use of the space. I'm hoping to have the design kind of completed March, May, June in there, with a construction date starting in August, September. It should only take less. It should be about 35 to 45 days total for construction. So my best guess, and this is just a guess because the design phase always is variable, is going to be probably September for a completion date.
That's great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No problem. Any other questions, inquiries about this project? It's been in the works for a long time. Big community effort behind it, which doesn't go unnoticed either. It continues to be a popular amenity and popular activity at the park there. And this is only going to help that. Okay. Well, I'll ask and see if there's any public comment on this item. See if anybody wants to talk to us about the cool new skate moves they're going to use out there. I've got one I call the face plant. Been working on it since I was about 13 years old.
Scars.
Lost a tooth one time. Doesn't appear that we have any other public comment on this item. So we'll just say thank you, Mr. Hunter, for coming in and letting us know about this. And without objection, we'll go to the roll call vote.
Cumby,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Schuster,
Yes.
Somerville,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Stalder,
Yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 noes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. And that motion carries. We'll go to item number 15 now. Councilmember Cumby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that City Council approve the application for transfer of retail liquor license number 8 from the 307 Office LLC, DBA, Coppers Corner, to Coppers Bar LLC, DBA, Coppers Liquor Lounge at 867 North 3rd Street, Laramie, Wyoming, for the licensing term April 7, 2021 through May 7, 2021, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the license.
Second.
It's a motion and a second from Councilmember Harrington. I'm going to go to the city clerk.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you. I just wanted to point out that I actually need the motion maker, if we could, to have an amendment to the motion to be effective April 15th. That's when the transfer is set to occur.
Thank you, City Clerk. And I think some of our more eagle-eyed council members were also trying to get my attention on that as well. Do we want to just quickly amend that motion? Councilmember Cumby, you can just. I think you have to read in that change, and then the second will agree with you, and then we'll go forward.
To read the whole thing again?
No, just add in the part that the city clerk provided for you. City Clerk, will that work?
Yeah, that'll work.
Amended to read for the licensing term April 15, 2021 through May 7, 2021.
The second agrees.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, and thank you, Councilmember Cumby. And certainly I've done that before. There's some very technical parts of the liquor license requirements with the way the terms run, and it just has to be just so that we remain in compliance. So I appreciate that. Thank you, City Clerk, for helping the council with that. Discussion about this. Councilmember O'Doherty, I saw that you had raised a hand, but I think you were trying to make sure that we got our motions correct, and I appreciate that. City Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, just by way of introduction, this is just a transfer request going from 307 office to Copper's Bar LLC. You do have two of the officers for that new Copper's Bar LLC here with us tonight. We have Jeff Hayes, and sorry, Jeff, if I said your last name wrong, and Jordan. So if you have any questions for them, they're here to answer any questions you might have.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. Council members, do we have any questions or anything? And I'm certainly going to give them an opportunity to share anything they'd like with us. City Clerk, I just want to verify with you again, when we have a transfer, those new owners of the liquor license, again, they only take over the license once we approve it, and then of course they'll have to renew it just like everyone else does on the licensing schedule, which is why this is such a contracted period of time, as reflected by the motion. Is that correct?
Correct, Mr. Mayor. We had a very small window. This is actually the last license for this year that can be renewed. So that'll be your next item on the agenda.
Thank you very much. All right, and so I'll ask Mr. Haas or Jordan Borgert, Jeff Haas, Jordan Borgert. If you want, you can certainly share anything with us right now. It's not required or expected, but you may want to have something you'd like to share with the council, so go right ahead. If you don't, that's okay. All right, I don't see anybody unmuting. City Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, I'll just note that Jeff currently is part owner of another establishment in town, and so they do come with some experience. And when I had two of the owners in my office, they were very eager to get going. So I just wanted to mention that.
I appreciate that, City Clerk. It's good enough for me. I don't know about the rest of the council, but I would suspect so. Okay. Well, not seeing anybody waiting to ask questions, we'll just quickly see if there's any public comment on this item. I don't see any hands popping up. Council members, last chance on this before we go to the roll call. Okay, City Clerk, can we have a roll call?
Cumby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Stalder.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Schuster,
Yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 no's, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, and the motion carries. So let's move it over to item number 16 now on our agenda, and we will also call on Councilmember Cumby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that City Council approve the application for renewal of retail license number 8 from Coppers Bar LLC, DBA Coppers Liquor Lounge at 867 North 3rd Street, Laramie, Wyoming, for the licensing term May 8, 2021 through May 7, 2022, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the license.
Second.
Motion and a second from Councilmember Gabriel. City Clerk, did you have anything further on this that you wanted to share with us?
Just of note, Mr. Mayor, this is for the same, for this next licensing term. So like we talked about, we just tweaked in the end of the renewal period here. So that's why we have 2 applications before us, one to finish out this year, one to start the next year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That's right. So it's always an annual deal, and we have to stay in compliance. So those technicalities, even for a month, are what they are. Council members, any questions? I think we still have our representatives from the business here, and that'd be a good time, if there is one, to ask questions. All right, we'll check and see if there's any public comment on it. I don't see any hands up. What we always like to say at this point is good luck, and we wish you the best, and happy to see people keeping businesses continuing and going on. Copper's Corner has been in Laramie for a long time. I don't know if I speak for the whole council, but I can tell you, I understand the popper is very popular, and I would not recommend getting rid of the Copper's popper, whatever your plans are. Okay. Let's have a roll call vote.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Schuster,
Yes.
Stalder,
Yes.
Somerville,
Yes.
Cumby,
Yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 no's, Your Honor.
Thank you. And that motion carries. And we appreciate the patience of the business owners, and particularly with the unsolicited business advice that I just like to kid around about. We do wish you luck, and thanks for being here with us. Okay, let's move on to the next item, which is going to be item number 17, just Vice Mayor Pierce.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that council approve the contract amendment between Sampson Construction and the City of Laramie, setting the guaranteed maximum price, GMP, for the Laramie Fire Department Training Center Rehabilitation Project at $3,029,129, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
It's a motion and a second by Councilmember Somerville. I see that we've got Chief Johnson from the fire department here, so I'll turn it over to him. Thanks for being here.
Honorable Mayor, members of council, can you hear me okay? Okay. A little background on this item. This project was approved on the SPT tax in August of 2018. In March of 2020, we entered into design of the facility, and we hired a RET design group to facilitate the design of the project. In July of 2020, we started a process to select a construction manager at risk. We entered into a contract with Sampson Construction in August of 2020. And since then, we've finished our design documents. We went out to bid and got all the cost estimates. And we did all this in conjunction with the design group. And we've developed the as-bid construction documents. We're here tonight to amend the contract we have with Sampson Construction to set our guaranteed maximum price, and that would be the amount that the contract sum won't exceed. The contract sum is the construction manager risk fees and the cost of the work. The GMP is set at $3,029,129. That's history of the project to date, and I stand for any questions.
Questions for Chief Johnson, Councilmember Stalder.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chief Johnson. I just was wondering, I know there's been a lot of variability in construction material costs. Does that factor into this at all?
They went out, secured the bids, and we've got the cost established. So I think from here on out, they've already, they'll be purchasing the products at the current prices. So.
Okay, so then if, I know a sheet of drywall costs like $100, not that you'll be using drywall in a fire training facility, but if that cost goes up, will the contractor just absorb the cost of the material?
Yeah, we're setting a guaranteed maximum price not to exceed unless we have any kind of contingency issues that arise. But this would be the price of what we've agreed to. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks, Chief Johnson. Other questions? I'll ask a question for Mr. Roth since he's taken time out of his evening to be here with us, just to see if there's anything you want to add to any of that, and maybe just kind of let the council know what your general feelings are as our construction manager about this project and your ability to follow through and make sure those cost controls are in place. Anything you want to add?
Really, I'm here to answer any question you guys might have. I will make a comment that we've already ordered our pre-engineered metal building. We met the cutoff day by about 1 day in order to secure the price that we had in the GMP for that. But we have written our contracts to our subcontractors, so all of our prices are locked in. We got lucky. Metal went up by 15% on the 15th, so we're doing good to get all of our contracts written, get all of our prices secured, and we did physically break ground today and starting to get stuff demoed and get the project rolling. It's a exciting project, and I'm really looking forward to building this one for the city.
Thank you, Mr. Roth, and for being here for our meeting tonight, sticking around till your item came up. We appreciate that background. Some of what you just shared with us there, I think, provided some further answer to Councilmember Stalder's question just about materials, timing, and cost increases. So that was useful for us. I appreciate that. Any other questions for the fire chief or for Mr. Roth on this one? Okay. Let's check and see if we have any public comment on this item. I don't see any hands popping up. Well, I'll say this. This has been a project long in the making, and the chief has told us several times about the need for this and what it provides for our city and the benefit that we get out of that. So we're looking forward to the completion of it. Glad to hear that we lucked out on the timing issues with the private sector portion of it. That's good news for us. And we'll look forward to more news about it as it rolls along. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
City Clerk, let's have a roll call vote.
Somerville.
Yes.
Stalder,
Yes.
Schuster,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Cumby,
Yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
That motion carries. And again, we're glad to see forward movement on that project. It's a big one and important. All right, move on to the next agenda item, which is item number 18, which I think we had a council member that said they were exceptionally eager to talk to us about this. I'm going to recognize Council Member O'Doherty.
Thank you. I accidentally closed it instead of open it. I enthusiastically move to award the bid for the 2020 Cured in Place pipe project to Granite in Linear. Oh man, I'm really messing this up. To Granite Inliner LLC of Kiowa, Colorado, in the total amount of $396,137.00 plus a contingency of $39,614.00 for a total amount not to exceed $435,751.00 and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
A motion and a acceptable, though not nearly as enthusiastic, second from the vice mayor. And we will go to, I think it's Mr. Webb here on my screen so he can talk to us about the project, and we'll ask any questions we might have.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, this is a project that our maintenance crews are very excited about also. We typically do this project every year. Comparatively, this is an inexpensive way to repair and maintain sanitary sewer and storm sewer lines. Cured in place pipe or CIPP technology allows for existing pipe segments of damaged or old clay pipe to be lined with a plastic or PVC-like material without digging up the street. It also improves system flows due to reduced friction in the line. The process of CIPP involves inserting and running lining into a pre-existing pipe that needs repair. This is done at the manhole, so they go down into the they actually insert it through the manhole into the line, so that's why they don't have to dig. Resin within the liner is then exposed to a curing element, which is usually just steam. That makes it attached to the inner walls of the pipe. Once it's fully cured, the lining acts as a new pipeline, so it's like a pipe within a pipe. Sewer mains needing lining are identified during our routine maintenance and inspection every year. Bids were solicited per the City of Laramie purchasing policy and state statute. 2 bids for the project were received on March 2nd, 2021. Staff reviewed both bids that were received. The apparent low bidder could not provide the required documentation to support the specifications. So the bid from In Situ Form Technologies was rejected. Both of the bids we received actually exceeded our available budget to complete the sanitary sewer portion of the project. So we negotiated, staff negotiated to reduce the scope of work on the sanitary sewer portion. We worked with Granite Inliner to do that, resulted in a reduced contract price that came in within budget, but we're still able to get quite a few lines completed. I attached in your packet the locations of the sanitary sewer and storm sewer lines that are to be completed this summer. So staff is recommending award the bid and contract to Granite Inliner.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Questions for Brooks Webb here on this item? Councilmember Gabriel.
Thank you, Mayor. Brooks, just curious, when you look at the difference in price on the bids from in situ form and granite. I see you obviously could have done more because that bid was lower. Can you tell me again the problem with, you talked about submitting the proper documents? Can you explain that a little bit further?
Sure, Honorable Mayor, Councilor Gabriel. So when the project went out for bid, there's material specifications that they have to meet. It's specifications that we, our engineers and our maintenance crews specify a certain type of material that we know is going to work, that is proven and we've used before. And that company could not meet those material specifications, or at least did not provide the documentation to meet those material specifications.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gabriel. Anybody else for Mr. Webb? I've got a quick question. My suspicion is, and I just look for you to either correct me or confirm it, that one of the things that happened with this project, and it happens with projects, is the time between when we budget an item out and when we get going and receive bids and start to move forward with actually completing the project. Sometimes you get just variations in material costs, labor costs, and some of those things. Is that part of the challenge that we're dealing with here with having to renegotiate this project and the bids? Mr. Webb, is that what's going on?
Yeah, Honorable Mayor, City Council, I think so. I think you're all aware we're seeing a really increased cost in materials this year for everything. And so we're doing that on a lot of projects. You've seen the last couple meetings, you've seen where we've had some bid rejections, so because they're so far over because of pipe pricing and things like that. So we're trying to work with the low bidders, and if we're over budget, and try to bring those projects, reduce that scope a little bit if we have to get that project done, or simply delay that project and reject a bid if we have other projects that are higher priority. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Material prices have gone up since we put estimated numbers together.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And, I think it's okay to zero in on a little bit of that discussion every now and then, because, there's all those costs that are factored in. There's the labor, material, transportation, I think even, and those costs and all those things end up to have an impact on the project. And, the public sector deals with those problems, private sector deals with those problems, and it's just a feature of what's going on right now with costs. So we'll keep trying to figure out good solutions for those kinds of things as we need to. Any other discussion on this? I guess it occurs to me, one thing that's cool about this, and maybe this was the source of the enthusiasm, is, it prevents having to tear up a bunch of streets and, have detours and those inconvenient things that come up with these projects, and we can do cured in place. So that is pretty cool, and it kind of keeps the flow of town moving the regular way instead of having a bunch of stuff torn up, so we can keep our infrastructure up. So that is cool. That is something to be enthusiastic about. Let's just check and see if we have anybody wants to say anything else about this from the public. I don't see anybody. Don't see any other comment on this. Council members, last time we'll vote. Okay. City Clerk, can you call a roll call for a vote on this one?
Cumby.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Stalder.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 noes, Your Honor.
Okay, that motion carries, and we'll keep moving on through the agenda. We'll go to item number 19. I'll call on Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to award the bid for Unit 3 03 closed circuit television inspection system with 4WD box fan without trade-in to 10 Point Sales and Marketing, Wheat Ridge, Colorado, in the total amount of $239,994, and amend the fiscal year 2021 wastewater budget accordingly, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Thank you. Motion and a second from Councilmember Somerville. We'll go back over to Mr. Webb so he can tell us about this crazy thing.
Yeah, Honorable Mayor, City Council, sorry about the long and confusing title there. That basically is what this is a sewer camera inspection truck. So this vehicle is actually one of the main items we use to come up with what projects we need to do the CIPP project with. Actually send the camera down the line and inspect those lines. The bids were opened for this project on March 23rd. We only received one bid and that was from 10 Point Sales. We currently, our current unit that we use for this is about 10 years old. The technology on it, because we've got software in the cameras and things like that, is pretty outdated. It's a small little trailer, enclosed trailer that we use, and honestly, we can't use it in the winter time because it's not temperature controlled. It's really just too small and too cold for the guys to be out there in it during the winter time. So unfortunately, the current one we have, we can only use part of the year. So this truck actually, if you picture a small U-Haul box truck, that's what we're talking about. And in the back is all the cabling and equipment for it. There's also a small desk with computer and controls for the camera. So the guys can actually operate from within the back of the truck with the doors closed and they're in a temperature controlled area. So we're excited that we can actually use this all year long and get a lot more of our lines inspected. The software system for these, it's pretty neat stuff. It actually maps the pipe, the size of the pipe, the elevation, length, and records any damage or cracks or root intrusion in the pipe. The unit bid met all of our specifications. There were 4 alternatives that we bid with this. One was a 400 watt, 120 volt outlet. One was the warning lights, the flashing lights. So when the guys are out in the street, they have some safety and people see that they're there. It's for the sewer crew. So we asked for a bid to add seat covers in the truck. And then our 4th alternative was for idle reduction technology, and that was not, unfortunately, not available on this size of truck. But our fleet guys are looking in to see if there's something we can add on in the future for that. So anyway, with that, staff is recommending the bid award to 10 Point Sales on this vehicle.
Thank you. Councilmember O'Doherty.
I want to point out I'm also very enthusiastic about this, and that I love that our city, our public works folks are so proactive, and that we've had fewer breaks. And I think this is a great way to keep our city moving along. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember O'Doherty. Any other comments or questions for Mr. Webb? Yeah, let me just quickly, agree and echo those comments. And, I think what's interesting about these discussions is it helps the council and hopefully members of the public understand a little bit more about what goes into the maintenance of this infrastructure. I always think it's so easy to just out of sight, out of mind with, the water system, wastewater or otherwise with this. And it takes a whole lot, and it takes a significant investment. And so I'm glad to see that we're able to upgrade this equipment, because I think it does help us prevent breaks, which does save the city money in the long run. When we can do preventative and proactive maintenance, as was said earlier, keeps things rolling along. I guess I have one question I'd like to ask if nobody's in too big of a hurry. And question, Mr. Webb, is, are there just not that many people that make these types of pieces of equipment, and so we don't get a lot of bids? Or is it something we want to do regionally and there's only so many places to go for this? I just don't know anything about it. So
Yeah, Honorable Mayor, City Council, it is kind of a specialized piece of equipment. And they're usually, when you're dealing with this specialized equipment, these manufacturers or dealers have regions that they deal in, and they don't step on each other's toes. We would love to see more bids come in on this stuff instead of just one bid, so we can see some more competitive pricing. But I think that's what happens is you get these distributors and these manufacturers and stuff that they have their region, and everybody stays in their lane, right? And so that's why on a lot of these specialized things we see just the one bid. When we get into pickup trucks and stuff like that, obviously we usually see a couple of bids on those, but on the specialized stuff, usually it's just the one bid.
I appreciate that, and I think that's really good information for us and the public to have as well in terms of questions about, well, how come we don't have a more competitive bidding environment? There's a lot of things that go on, especially with specialized equipment and some of these things that not everybody's going to be buying a sewer camera trailer system, so that makes sense. Glad this one has a little bit more comfortable setup. I think some of that could already be uncomfortable enough, so to improve the working conditions a little bit for that, I think is good news. Anything else on this item? All right. Let's just check, see if there's public comment. I don't see any. So we'll go to a roll call vote.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Stalder.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 noes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, and that motion carries. And we'll go on. It looks like council members, it's a lot of the Mr. Webb show tonight, but that's all right. We like that show. I'm going to count on Councilmember Somerville to introduce the next item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would move to award the bid for Unit 601, 24 cubic yard heaped tractor scraper with trade-in to Wyoming Machinery, Cheyenne, Wyoming, in the total amount of $651,668.69, and amend the fiscal year 2021 solid waste budget accordingly, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion is second by the vice mayor. Go ahead, Mr. Webb.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, the current scraper out at the landfill is 10 years old. It's got almost 6,000 hours on it, so it's approaching time that it needs a engine and transmission rebuild. It needs new tires on it. The new tires on that are about $60,000 to put new tires on it, so it's time to trade it out. This is really an essential piece of equipment out at the landfill. It really accomplishes three things. Without this piece of equipment, you need three pieces of equipment. It picks up dirt, it hauls dirt, and it spreads dirt. And as you probably know, we're required to cover the trash with dirt every day. So the machine runs every day. When we excavate the soil to move to cover the trash with, we actually excavate in an area that we are going to be doing future landfilling. So we're actually starting to excavate our next cell, which saves us some money when we go out for construction on that. When the last project we did out at the landfill, it costed us $3 for every cubic yard of soil that the contractor moved. So on one load, we're saving almost $75 in the future on excavation. Plus, we're getting things covered up. Anyway, we received one bid from Wyoming Machinery on this. It's Caterpillar over in Cheyenne. We opened the bids on March 23rd. The price is right in line with market from what we're seeing. We had a couple alternates on it. One was for a safety camera, backup camera, These are huge pieces of equipment that it's really hard to see behind. And then the other alternate was for an auto idle shutdown. And both of those actually come standard. There was no additional cost with it. The auto idle shutdown is something we can set a time limit on. If the machine's sitting and idling for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, it'll automatically shut off. So with that, we're recommending award a bid to Wyoming Machinery.
Okay, council, any questions on this item? $60,000 tires. Councilmember Stalder.
I just was going to make a comment that I thought my tires were expensive. But also that I had to go to the dump this week, and it's been a while since I've been out there, and I was just really impressed with how clean it was and just smooth. Everyone was polite, really well run.
Thank you, Councilmember Stalder. Yep, learning or getting a little refresher about all the equipment that goes into the city of Laramie doing what it needs to do tonight. It's not a short list, but it does help keep the landfill clean. Anything else, folks? Okay, I'll check with the public, see if we have any comments on it. I don't see any. One last time around, and then we'll go to the city clerk to have a roll call vote for us.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Cumby. Sorry, Cumby.
Yes.
Let me try the speaker again and see if this works better.
That actually seems a little bit clearer, city clerk. Yeah.
Okay. Cumby?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for your patience, everyone.
No problem.
Harrington.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Stalder.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 noes, Your Honor.
That motion carries. We've got item number 21, which is going to be introduced by Councilmember Somerville.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to award the bid for Unit 961 gang mower with trade-in to LL Johnson Distributing Company, Denver, Colorado, in the total amount of $106,801.93, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
Thank you. Second motion and a second from Councilmember Schuster. And we'll go over to Mr. Webb.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, the Public Works Fleet Department bid this piece of equipment out for parks. This is obviously not your typical lawnmower that we would use at our homes. This is a ride-on lawnmower that has a cutting width of 16 feet wide. You may have seen them in the parks before, or golf courses or something like that. They use them in large spaces, obviously. There's really 3 lawnmowers on it, one on either side and then one in the front. The ones on the side can come up. You see, they like wings or whatever. The current unit that they're trading in is 13 years old. We opened bids on this on what was it, March 23rd, I believe, with the others. Yeah, March 23rd was the bid opening. Again, we had one bid, LL Johnson Distributing Company out of Cheyenne, Wyoming. We asked for 2 alternatives. On this one, it has, we asked for a rollover protective structure with a sunshade canopy and also an additional 5-year warranty on the mower. Staff's recommending the bid award to LL Johnson Distributing Company. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the bid or the bid process. And Todd is here to answer any questions about the operations or use of the piece of equipment.
All right. Questions? Councilmember Harrington.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are these available as, I'm not sure if this is even a practical thing yet. I'm not sure if the technology is there, but knowing that we have 13 years potentially with this piece of equipment, are these things that are available as electric vehicles in any variety?
Honorable Mayor, City Council, I think the problem is you don't necessarily get the power and runtime that you need as you would with an electric one, and Todd may be able to talk more to it. This piece of equipment is a Tier 4 final emission compliant turbo diesel engine, so it's Tier 4 compliant. But maybe Todd, I don't know if you have more information on the electric side of things.
Sure. Thanks, Brooks. Honorable Mayor, we actually are investigating electric mowers, electric trimmers, electric blowers, and different pieces of equipment. And you'll see that in our budget requests coming through for fiscal year 22. However, the runtime on this one, this machine typically runs 8 hours a day for 5 days a week, and the charge time and recovery time on batteries of the size to run this type of mower are not available at this time. I hope we see it in the future, but I just know that they're just not available at this time, and they're barely making it to the runtime we need in the next smaller mowers. So we're really going to have a hard time getting to that electrical use piece at this point.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you both. Do you have any follow-up, Councilmember Harrington? Thank you. It's a good question, but I do think some of this equipment, they're trying to do their best emissions-wise with it. I think Mr. Webb touched on that a little bit. I have a question for either the Assistant City Manager or our Public Works Director, and that it's kind of general, but I think it'll fit in with this one. I've seen a lot of these items of equipment in here tonight. Are we keeping up with our replacement schedule the way we want to? Councilmember Harrington's question kind of jogged this in my mind. 13 years, and then we might need to take a look at replacing this. 10 years for another piece of equipment. Are we keeping pace with that? Are we stretching equipment as long as we can, and then but still making sure that we're getting in the new items that we need to make sure that we're ready for the next 10 years, more or less? Have we been successful with that? I know we're entering a pretty challenging budget time, so be good to know that we can count on this stuff coming forward. If either one of you want to speak to that, let's hear it.
Yeah, Honorable Mayor, City Council, I think we are keeping with our replacement schedule and still trying to maximize the use on that. You see, and on this item, we're adding that extended warranty, and part of that is for that. Typically, it depends on the type of equipment on how long we keep that. With the last item, the scraper for the landfill, that's an expensive piece of equipment, right? And so, yeah, that's not one we change out every 5 years. We simply can't afford to do that. But we get it. We do add the extended warranties on those items so that we can stretch that out a little longer. But I guess the short answer is, at this point, yes, we are keeping up with our replacement schedule.
Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. It's kind of coming to the forefront here. We're talking about a lot of equipment. Councilmember Schuster, please go ahead.
Thank you. This is my area of expertise, is on those pieces of equipment. And I'll let you know that both of these pieces of equipment you talked about are diesel ran. The Tier 4 emissions means that the number one thing this thing will put out will be over 70% hydrogen. Then its next thing it puts out, water vapor. Then oxygen. Then what we exhale, carbon dioxide. When we talk about Tier 4, that means that in actual pollutants, both of these units will do less pollution to the air than a small gasoline vehicle. The actual pollutant factor is 0.05 right now for Tier 4 on this current year production. So it will put out less pollution than a small gasoline vehicle. and that's even that big scraper out there. So it's amazing what we're doing with them. As in longevity, a typical diesel engine in a semi truck will last 1 million miles before that engine needs to be replaced, which again is very long longevity for it. So just thought I'd let you know kind of what was going on there. And yes, we are doing a good job with emissions on those two. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Councilmember Schuster. That's good. I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to be doing net reductions, and I think longevity of equipment should be factored into that. That makes sense. That's good. Okay, well, thank you, Councilmember Schuster. Thank you, Mr. Webb. I just kind of wanted to get a little bit of a picture about replacement schedules and times on that. I think all of us are a little bit worried about how things might be looking in the years ahead and how long we might have to be using some of our big expensive equipment for, but it's good to hear about extended warranties and things like that. So we appreciate that information. Anything else on this item or on that line of questioning? Okay, looks like everybody's ready to move on, but we'll check and make sure we have given a public comment an opportunity. Don't see anybody raising their hand. City Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Humby.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Stoller.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. That motion carries. And we'll go on to the next one, which is item number 22. And I'm going to recognize Councilmember Schuster to introduce that item.
Thank you. I move to award the 41T3 well project bid to White Mountain Operations LLC, Pinedale, Wyoming, in the amount of $364,198 plus a 15% contingency of $54,629.70 for a total not to exceed the amount of $418,827.70 and amend the fiscal year 2021 Water Fund Capital Project budget accordingly and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second by Vice Mayor Pierce, and we will now go to the city. Well, I have City Manager Jordan on this item, but I also see that Mr. Parkin is here. Whoever wants to take this over and introduce it, you have the floor.
Honorable Mayor and Council, I'll take this one. This is for the redrill of the 41T3 municipal well. It's going to be located at the corner of 45th and Crow. This well is going to be a little over 800 feet deep. It will fully penetrate the Casper Aquifer. This is to award the bid to the drilling contractor to construct the well. The bid opening was on March 23rd. We had 3 responses to our advertisement. White Mountain Operating out of Pinedale, Wyoming was the low bid at $364,198. We had another bid from Cahoy Operating in Cheyenne, Wyoming. They were $467,973. And then we had the high bid from Nucor Drilling out of Riverton, significantly higher at $1,616,250. The engineer's estimate for this project was $313,005. I think the reason for the bids coming in a little high is volatility in the construction materials that we've heard about in other presentations this evening, and a large pump size that's required for the pump test and the cementing that is required for the well construction. So kind of all those factors have played in. And with that, I'll entertain any questions anybody may have.
Thank you, Mr. Parkin. Any questions? Any questions for the Natural Resources Manager? Everybody's crystal clear on this. And okay, I'm going to go to Councilmember Harrington, and then I'll go to you, Councilmember Gabriel. Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just maybe a secondary effect of the construction of this well, but I'm curious because the intersection of 45th and Crow is a popular access to the schoolyard and future Pilot Hill trails. Will this affect any of the access to that public land? And if so, are we mitigating, at least during construction, sort of that access in any way? Thanks.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, through you, I've been in, have conversations with Sarah Brown Matthews from Pilot Hill, and we are going to coordinate together to try to mitigate any of those impacts during construction. I would imagine the construction process is going to take around 2 weeks between staging the actual drilling and then the lengthy pump test that we're going to do. And we're going to coordinate with Public Works. We've had some conversations internally with staff to try to get some notices out to the folks that live in that neighborhood, appropriate barriers on the street. This is something I think we're going to want to get in front of. There will be some impacts to the daily lives of those people directly adjacent to this well, and potential impacts to those trying to access Pilot Hill. But we have already starting to reach out to the appropriate folks, and we will come up with plans to mitigate that as best we can.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you for waiting, Councilmember Gabriel. It's for you.
Along that same line, Brian took my thunder. I was just curious, there maybe long-term parking in that area. Will it be affected there as well?
Honorable Mayor, through you, Councilor Gabriel, if you're familiar with that intersection at 45th and Crow, it's kind of a T intersection now. It's going to be turned into a curved intersection at the conclusion of this project. I do not think there will be any impact on long-term parking in the area. We should keep the vast majority of it intact. If there is any impacts, it should be very, very minor.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions or input? City Manager, did you have anything you wanted to cap that off with, or anything further on it? Okay. All right. We've got a couple other related items to this that may generate some more questions, so we'll keep moving through it. I'll check and see if there's a public comment request. I don't see one. City Clerk isn't telling me that there's anybody else, so I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
Schuster.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Stalder.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 noes, Your Honor.
That item carries. So we're going to go to item number 23, which is Councilmember Schuster.
Thank you. I move to amend the Phase 1 design and bidding of 41T3 well drilling professional services agreement with the Engineering Associates, Laramie, Wyoming, to add well construction management services. Amendment 1 in the total amount of $38,616 plus the original contract amount of $13,980 for a total not to exceed the amount of $52,596, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second by the Vice Mayor. And just turn it over to Mr. Parkin.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. This is a professional services contract for Engineering Associates to oversee the actual drilling of the well and the well aquifer evaluation and pump testing of the well. This is an amendment to the original contract. The original professional services contract was to provide the well design and to take it out to bid for drilling contractors. So this is professional services for the actual drilling activity of the well. Those professional services are going to include, we'll drill a pilot hole, and then they will log the drill cuttings from that pilot hole. That pilot hole will have a camera ran down it to finalize well design. And then we will have that be reamed out and surface casing will be set and cemented in. And then the production casing and well screen will be set inside that 14-inch production casing. And then there will be an open hole component to the well underneath that as well. And then finally, the whole thing, we're going to do quite a lengthy pump test and aquifer evaluation of this well. And that will have on-site professional services as well. So that is what this Amendment 1 entails. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Parkin on that? Gave us a pretty good rundown on it, but okay, I don't see any. Check and see if there's public comment or questions. I don't see any. One more time. City Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Somerville,
Yes.
Stelter,
Yes.
Schuster,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Cumby,
Yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
The motion carries. Okay. Councilmember Schuster, let's go to you for item number 24.
Thank you. I move to approve the amendment to the 4-1-T3 well drilling professional services agreement with the engineering associates to design the 4-1-T3 well piping, excuse me, well piping and treatment project in the amount of $102,428. Swallowed wrong, sorry. Plus a contingency of $20,485.60 for a total amount not to exceed $122,913.60 and amend the fiscal year 2021 water budget accordingly and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion is second by the vice mayor. And let's see, we've got some new faces here for the meeting. Is this going to be turned over to Mr. Japp? All right, you've got it.
All right, Your Honorable Mayor and members of council. This amendment is for the phase 2 portion of the project you've been discussing over the last 2 items. This phase of the project will be for the design of the rest of the infrastructure. This will include well house, treatment, piping, as needed to connect this new well to the city's water system. Staff does support this amendment, and I can answer any questions you may have on this phase of the project.
Okay, thanks for being here with us for the meeting. Any questions for the engineer? Okay. Well, you know, I always feel bad for our staff members that show up and then we have Zippo questions for them. But these are kind of 3 interrelated items on a project that the council is relatively familiar with, some changes and some updates to it. I know we want to get this project going. It's kind of it's an extremely important part of the north side infrastructure that we've been expanding on and working on for the last several years now, and it's got a couple of steps to it. Some questions asked about that parking situation with Pilot Hill. I guess I do have a question that I will ask you, Mr. Japp, which is that, you know, there's a lot of different steps to this project before we really start to get close to that time when we're going to bring that online for our overall water infrastructure. I don't know that you're the only one that could answer this, but you're here and I know you can answer it. What do we think in terms of timeline for us to get the information that we do need and then integrating into our overall water system in the city?
Your Honorable Mayor, with the well getting awarded tonight and getting started on that, we'll instantly start on the design, as this amendment is for that tying in and getting all that design. So really once we get the well, there's some data that we have to get from the well, and that we'll have to wait for that data once the well's drilled from the pumping data to finalize this design. But our hope is possibly this fall. is kind of what we're shooting for. There may be some delays that come up, but that's kind of what our hope is right now, is to have this connected sometime this fall and have this put in. So the design, while it's complicated, we're hoping we can get it done fairly quickly and get this out to bid maybe late summer or something like that, and get it under construction. But there may be some factors that come up in that end up delaying it, but that's our hope right now.
Thank you. Even if that's an approximate estimate, that's pretty quick for a tie-in, it seems like to me. But then again, we have been doing some work on this for a while, so I appreciate that information. Councilmember O'Doherty?
I think one reason we don't have a lot of questions is staff gave us a very thorough Q&A, and I appreciate that. So I forgot my question, but never mind. Thank you.
I'll give you a minute to come back to it if you want, Councilmember O'Doherty. I do appreciate the answers and the detail on this. It's an increasingly important topic about how we're going to maximize the use of our water resources. And again, that north side infrastructure, this is just the latest in a long series of steps to improve that system over there on that side of town. That's resulted from some significant investment from a variety of sources. So it's not a small thing. And Councilmember O'Doherty's right. We have heard a lot about it as we've moved along. So that's useful for us. But we do appreciate the information and the answers. I'll check and see if we have anybody else. It looks like we have a hand raised, and we do. And I'm going to recognize Judy Snoke because she doesn't like me to call her Mrs. Snoke. And you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Weaver. I appreciate that. I have probably a really silly question, but Darren referred to something, and it connects with you too, Eric. That is, if there were to come up with some kind of aquifer problem, then what? I realize that's a huge what if, and I know you have vetted this out very carefully. Any thoughts?
Judy, I'm going to ask you a quick question too. When you say aquifer problem, I bet the staff's probably going to need you to be a little bit more specific. Like maybe we're drawing it down too fast, or we're not getting from the pump tests and things like that. We're not getting what we need. To help them out a little more specific.
I thought I heard Mr. Parkin say something about a pump test to check out the aquifer.
Yeah.
And so that's where my question actually came but my hand didn't get up fast enough.
Okay, thank you. And I'm not trying to edit a question here. I just want to make sure
I appreciate
it. Thank you, Judy. Really, it's a good question. And I think what we want to know is if we get something from that pump test that we don't like, what are we going to do? All right. All right. Thank you. And like I said, sorry for butting in on your question. I also see Councilor O'Doherty. Maybe she remembers.
Yeah, that was a similar question. So Thank you, Judy. And I was wondering, so the nitrates, I know that we've been monitoring, the collective, we have been monitoring that well for nitrates. So my question is similar to Judy's. Thanks.
Okay, so all right, staff. Now you got the questions coming. Whoever wants to tackle that first. What if we get a bad pump test or something we don't like? Mr. Parkin.
Honorable Mayor, we have a lot of technical information in that area, so we feel like this isn't a shot in the dark. Of course, it's always just a hole in the ground, right? But there's been so much evaluation of that area with our existing well and other activities that have taken place, studies that the city has done in the past, geophysics, work that has been done by the University of Wyoming, and lots of other things that we really feel that location should produce the water we need. Now, if it does not, that is, concerning. But we really have a fairly high level of confidence in that area. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't. We would be basically intercepting the exact same fractures that we know exist in our existing 41T3 well that we know will produce an adequate amount of water. We're only offsetting off of that well 50, 60 feet, something like that. So we would anticipate very similar subsurface conditions. Therefore, we have a fairly high level of confidence in what we're going to find in this well. Due to the fact, though, that it is a very expensive well and it is going to serve a very important purpose for servicing the citizens of Laramie and future growth to the north, we are going to thoroughly evaluate it. And so that's where the lengthy pump test is going to come in. We're going to bring in a big pump to run it for several days, and just to make sure. And we also want to know when Public Works and the engineers take over their design, they need to have a confidence before they invest that kind of money in the infrastructure that they've got a well that's going to support that. So that's really what that's for, is to just kind of double down on that confidence level. And then we have a known quantity of water that the well will produce. As for the nitrate question, the existing 41T3 well has been monitored for nitrates for the last several years. There is a fracture in the Satanka formation that can sometimes produce a kind of an anomalous higher level of nitrates that is not fully understood at this location. But the new well is going to case through that and cement through that. That's one of the reasons why we need a new well. That old well drilled in the 1940s does not meet current DEQ or State Engineer's Office design standards, especially for a public water supply well. We've done so much evaluation on that existing well that it's really helping with the design of this new one. If you get below that Satanka fracture, the nitrate levels are very low in our existing 41-3 well, and all other wells in the area are very low in nitrate. So we do not anticipate an elevated nitrate problem in the new well.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Anything else for Mr. Park and Mr. Japp on this from the council? And check again, see if there's a hand. Okay. I'm going to make just a very short comment. Oh, no, please, Councilor Harrington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A question for the city manager. Is this project funded through the Water Enterprise Fund?
Through you, Mayor, Councilor Harrington, that is correct. I believe the cover sheet articulates the funding source, and you'll see it is the 510 fund, which is our water fund.
Thank you. That's it, Mr. Mayor. Thanks.
You bet. Thanks, Councilmember Harrington. Just kind of a quick comment that I want to make, and I appreciate everyone's patience with it. If you've been here for a little bit with the council, or even if you've paid attention to some of the planning documents that are out there, there is a hope that the north part of town can continue to evolve into an attractive and kind of up and coming growth area for the city of Laramie. And there's a number of reasons that different interest groups and individuals in the community would like to see more of that out there. I would ask you to think about some of the growth that's hoped for and anticipated around future development around our tech park area and some of the other infrastructure that we already have out there, and some future hopes for residential development out there. And so having this project come online now in anticipation of that be available, to have that sort of cornerstone infrastructure in place is very important for that. And there's, I think, some other reasons that's a part of the community and the city that we'd like to see receive more development interest in the near and medium term and long term for the city. And this is, I think, at least part of the reason and effort behind this North Side infrastructure project, and why it's important to the city, why it's received that level of time and investment. So this is a big part of that moving forward. So it's good to see it happening. And I hope as a member of the council to see future interest in that northern area of our community for residential and other types of development soon. Okay, thank you for your patience with me on that one, but I think it needed to be said. Any other comments before we move on? All right, City Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Schuster,
Yes.
Solder,
Yes.
Somerville,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Cumby,
Yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Weaver.
And yes,
That's 9 yeses and 0 nos, Your Honor.
that motion carries. Thank you very much. Council members, it kind of got away from me. I noticed that it's about 10 to 8. Is there anyone that needs to request that we take a quick break now, or do you want to just keep trucking along? Okay, I don't see anybody jumping up and down for a break, so maybe we'll just keep moving on with our items here. It's been a busy agenda with a lot of important stuff on it. Okay, so the next item is item number, are we at number 25 now for Councilor Harrington?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the council approve Resolution 2021-25 awarding $200,500 in fiscal year 2021-2022 community partner funds in accordance with the amount listed in the resolution and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
Thank you. It's a motion and a second from Councilmember Schuster. And we will go to City Manager Jordan for background on this.
Thank you, Council. You are very familiar with this process. We do this each year. This process allows for the City Council to allocate or appropriate funds to various community partner agencies. As you know, we break those agencies down into roughly 3 categories, the first being civic or quasi-governmental agencies like the Albany County Public Library. Second category are our social service agency partners like Big Brothers Big Sisters and Interfaith Good Samaritan. And our third category are recreational arts and cultural agencies. Those would be represented by Laramie Plains Museum, Relative Theatrics, etc. This year, we did take a close look at the demand for community partner funding. And when I looked at the amount of funds that was being requested, we saw that in total, requests for funding was up slightly more than 3% over the 5-year running average of requests that you have received. So as you know, Council, I did tell you that based on the seemingly increased demand for services from these agencies, I was comfortable recommending a one-time 5% increase in total community partner funding for the upcoming fiscal year, and that total amount would be $200,500. So with that recommendation in hand, each of the council members has heard from each of the requesting agencies in a previous work session that occurred on March 9th. Then you subsequently submitted your recommendations as individual council members for the amount of funding that each agency would receive. And then the average of your 9 individual recommendations is comprised in the resolution before you tonight, which shows the amount of funding that would go to each agency. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but that's a quick overview of the process that we use. And with that, I'll leave it back to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager, and for the review. Not every member of the council has done this in the last year, and some have never done it, so it's always good. Do we have any discussion on this? As I'm looking at the master worksheet here, I don't know if there's people that disagree with this, but it looks like a pretty good balance between priorities for people and that things have worked out in a reasonable way. Certainly, as is always the case, there's going to be council members that think a few more dollars might be better allocated here than over there. But in general, that's why we use this system, because that average comes out to reflect those values. And I think we try to reflect those priorities individually when we make these recommendations. So I think it's a pretty good system. Nothing's going to be perfect, we know, but we also know that money's tight, and these nonprofits, either for vital human services and needs or other interests, cultural interests, arts interests, which I frankly, to me, are also vital human services and needs. They're just a different kind. It looks like a pretty good balance here. So I really want to thank everybody for the time, because I know people sit down and they look at this, scratch their heads, think about it. Sometimes we ask each other about, our thoughts about it, and that's the way we should do it. But I look at this list here and these recommendations, and I think we can feel pretty good about them. Nothing's perfect, I understand that, but I think it's a pretty good piece of work. But I'm interested in any other views or opinions about it. Nobody wants to say much about it tonight, and I think it's fortunate that we're able to provide a one-time increase, and the timing is good, in so much as that we heard a lot about increased needs during the presentation, as I'm sure you all remember. It's something that we see every year, and I don't know that we'll ever be able to omit it, but we'll say it this year too, or at least I will. We always wish that there was more funding available for that, but that, it's just the nature of the community and the tax structures available in the state into the community, what we can collect and what we can distribute back out. It's those dollars don't represent the sum total of our appreciation for what these groups are doing, and I think we all know that, and we do wish that there was more funding available, but we have to live with the reality that we're in. I'll check and see if there's any public comment. I don't see any. Council, I do appreciate your patience with my comments here, but I think we need to say those things and recognize those things. And I also think you as the council need to be recognized for sitting down and kind of tackling a pretty tough task, which is, how you want to spend money, allocate dollars towards all these important organizations. You think back about a month ago or whenever it was that we received those presentations. Frankly, I always like those presentations, and it's important to learn about what's going on, but it's also kind of a gut punch when you hear about the need and the work, most of it done by volunteers in our community to provide those services. So it's kind of it's a mixed bag. It's great to see our community stepping up, and it's also hard to remember and think about how much need is going on in the community that these folks meet through their efforts. So I appreciate your letting me say a few things about it. If there isn't anything else on this item, I don't see any hands up. Okay, City Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Humby,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Schuster,
Yes.
Stalder,
I'm recusing myself on this one.
Somerville,
Yes.
Pierce,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 recused, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you, City Clerk. Thank you, City Council, again for your work on that item, and that motion carries. All right. Let's keep on going. And we are now into an item number 26, and I had Councilmember Somerville for that item. Councilmember Somerville.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve original ordinance number 2025 on first reading, establishing DC zoning district for a city block 212, original Laramie final plat, approximately 1 acres in size, located at 710 Garfield Street, in accordance with findings of fact and conclusions of law, and set a public hearing for April 20th, 2021.
Second.
Thank you. Motion and second from Councilmember Gabriel. I see we've got Matthew from our City of Laramie Planning Office here. He's going to give us some background on this, so it's over to you.
Mayor, Council, thank you so much. I think everybody would know this land and area better as the Civic Center along Garfield Street. The Civic Center basically started back in early 80s. Prior to that, it was the Laramie Middle School, and prior to that, it was a single small central building right in the middle of the block that has had about 3 different additions to it now. And as you go around the building, as you walk inside it, you can kind of tell those additions by the different kind of design and styles of the rooms, etc. Pretty interesting history just within that block. But since it became the Civic Center, it is now encompassing many tenants. Within the staff report, you'll see the list of tenants provided by the applicants, and you have nonprofits, law offices, artists, musicians, faith-based organizations, event spaces, obviously the Griffin, a large venue within our town, and a number of other uses that I am missing. This year, staff or myself, I had never made a proper connection with the Civic Center and just wanted to kind of introduce myself and meet and ask kind of what the city could do. And the applicant, as well as or a number of staff members at LPCC, said that they would really enjoy, or not enjoy, sorry, they were very interested about changing their zone to downtown commercial. This is something that staff fully agrees with. Mainly the reason is that this is currently an R3 zone, so your residential multifamily, which, as we all know, the Civic Center is not used as residential. It truly is a mix of uses that really comes into kind of closer use with urban commercial, which is what the downtown commercial kind of wants to promote within whatever land use it is. Luckily for the Civic Center, as well as council and staff, they did not have to go through a comp plan amendment. The future land use in this area is public institutional. And so when that land use was made, basically this encompasses government buildings, schools, libraries, anything that you would think is public or institutional. And basically when this land use came about, we said, because these are generally island uses within the city, that we would just allow any zone to be placed there, but generally along with staff and council agreement that that zone actually works in this place. We really do see this current block as that, like I said earlier, that urban commercial kind of pattern. It goes lot line to lot line. It is very much used as more of a community hub these days, rather than just kind of individual businesses. I know myself, I use it for open gym time. Obviously, if you've probably been to random events, whether fundraising, community, there was a coffee shop there prior to COVID. There is pottery classes. So you have people going in and out of the building that might not just be private uses within this area. And so it is used by people not only in the neighborhood, but all around the city. As going through the requirements under a zoning amendment, we had to look at if it is in line with the comprehensive plan, and within the comprehensive plan, as well as the new Thrive Laramie economic development study, we do call for kind of incubation sites, and the Civic Center truly has acted as that. Not only are they just mixed use, but it is a nonprofit that they tend to rent spaces at an average of $1 a square foot, which is quite amazing that they can still run and provide that space to the tenants for that affordable of an aspect. And allows a lot of businesses to kind of get their foot in the door and get a space that's outside of their home and, you know, show that professional sense. And as well as just, you know, many people don't want to do pottery in their living room or something like that. And so it does have that kind of incubator feel without actually putting the name to it. We don't see any hardships zoning a DC commercial. One main reason staff really agreed with this zoning was that it kind of protects the building in the future. One, under the DC commercial, as we have all been through DC changes and are pretty familiar with them from the past few months, is that the DC area does not require commercial parking. And so in the future, say a large enough use comes into the Griffin, or sorry, not the Griffin, the Civic Center. Say someone wants to take up half a floor. Under the R3 zoning district, we would require those traditional parking standards that come with that. And so whether that's like an office space or something, and under that, they would have to provide parking somewhere, whether that's on a surrounding lot, which there really aren't any vacant lots surrounding them, or taking a chunk of the building out, or going through the variance process, which this would be a unique enough situation. But trying to avoid that process in total. But as well as the DC district also permits and allows those uses that are more neighborhood friendly, because the whole idea of the DC district is to kind of be a gradient zone from commercial into residential. And so if you look at our use table in the code, you have, we don't allow, like heavy manufacturing or something that could produce odor or noise or anything that could be a bit disturbing to the surrounding residents. And so that's something we do see the DC district hopefully protecting the neighborhood as well as the Civic Center with this new zoning amendment. Let's see. And so staff did get a few phone calls just in regards to just kind of questioning what's going on over there when they saw the development signs. And most people just wanted to understand what was going on, what it meant. Some folks asked if parking would change there, and this zoning amendment will not change parking at all. We have no control over how the Civic Center dictates putting 2-hour parking there or anything of that nature. The only side of the Civic Center that has permitted parking is the, I want to say the south side, if I remember correctly. But all other parking is 24 hours open to whoever wants to use it, whether it's residential or tenants of that space. And really no one that called after hearing what was going on had any concerns with the change in zoning. We did present this to the March 22nd Planning Commission, and they did, or sorry, not March 22nd, but the, apologies, March 8th Planning Commission, and they did recommend approval to Planning Commission of 5 votes for aye and 0 for nay and 1 absent. But with all that, staff does recommend that council approves this item, and I am here for any questions and concerns you may have, but I do believe that one of the representatives of LPCC is on the call as well. Thank you so much.
Appreciate that, Matthew. And I do see that Mr. Bender's here, so if he wants to share anything with us about this, we'd like to give him an opportunity to do that now.
I think Matt covered pretty much everything on that. We're probably our main reason for doing this is, is to strengthen and support our tenants, and then at the same time working with downtown businesses as well. I think there could be a great relationship back and forth. Some other benefits that Matt didn't come up, but we also talked about signage and being able to put up proper sign to let people know that the Griffin's there, or our businesses, stuff like that. Allows us to have food trucks, for an event. It allows us a little more freedom within what we're doing. For our growth, future growth and stuff like that. It allows us to apply for, there's a lot more funding options and stuff, a lot more angles for us to go about things if we are zoned downtown. So we just thought it was a great fit to symbiotic relationship back and forth with the downtown businesses that are there.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for being here with us and joining us at the City Council and sticking around so you could share that with us and be part of this consideration. Okay. Other questions for Matthew or Adam Bender or anybody on this? Councilor Somerville.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This question would be for Mr. Cox. So I have received a number of phone calls and a lot of conversations with the downtown groups. You know, they had a lot of questions about what was going on. I'm wondering if you could touch a little bit on some of the confusion stemming from the difference between DC zoning, downtown commercial, membership as a member of the DDA, so being included in that legal development district, and then the Laramie Main Street Association. And I know they're not here tonight, but I think I've received a lot of pushback on this about spot zoning a building that would be potentially included in DDA and be required to receive services from Main Street without some more conversations occurring before that. So could you touch on that and maybe explain that a little bit?
Mayor, Council, appreciate it. Yeah, no, very, very good question. And we have, as staff, and I believe as well as the applicants have talked to Trey and Main Street and have been informed of kind of the process behind those groups. And in no way is Main Street responsible for allocating any funding, staff time, or incorporating LPCC within their boundary. As far as the DDA goes, my understanding is that the DDA would have to vote to bring in LPCC as a board or membership or anything like that. And so zoning LPCC is downtown, has nothing to do from the city side, anything to do with DDA or Main Street, but more specifically, it does just kind of benefit them through the information I said today. I do believe as is staff's hope, as well as kind of through the comp plan and Thrive Laramie, that downtown does at some point in the future expand past its boundaries at the moment, whether that's in around the train tracks or down East Grand or somewhere completely else within the city. And we do see the Griffin as a kind of anchor spot as to where downtown could grow down that Garfield corridor, as well as just being a block off of Grand Avenue where you have B1 and B2 zoning just a block away. I mean, with the DC area as it is now, it stops at 6th and Garfield already, and so this is very close to almost connecting the DC fully. And while it is kind of a one-off zone, there's just so much activity in this place that aligns with use that we do see within the downtown area, whether that's the Duralocker or some other maker spaces. And so not only is this just, I think it becomes an awkward conversation because we have only one downtown area at the moment, but just finding that expansion, and really the downtown was created more specifically for uses and kind of residential sensitivity, just a one downtown spot. I think prior to its name now, staff, back when the comprehensive plan was being created, recommended that the name actually only be called urban commercial, but it got turned to downtown just because it's in that location rather more than anything. But sorry, that was a large tangent, but this change has nothing to do with Main Street and DDA is kind of the short of the answer, though.
Councilmember Somerville.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Cox. I appreciate that explanation, and I do think that some additional conversations need to be held between probably the planning staff and Main Street DDA, as well as the applicants, to maybe flesh that out just a little bit more, so everybody is more understanding of that. I did review the ordinance that established the DDA and their bylaws. And right now, Main Street takes the map that was established by DDA with the DC downtown district. And so I think there's just some things that we need to make sure that we're clear on. In my opinion, as the downtown liaison, that's creating some friction. The other question that I have for you is, you know, just a few weeks ago, we had a pretty lengthy conversation about some changes to downtown code, essentially, right? And we talked about parking issues, and we worked really hard to find a compromise to work that out and to get that passed. And in that conversation, we had kind of a secondary conversation about maybe we need to have two separate types of zoning districts within just the downtown area, one that's core to the attached buildings and then the one that's outside. It would seem to me that maybe this furthers that conversation about whether we need to have an additional zoning district. If the goal of the city, as kind of stated in the cover sheet, is to establish more urban areas, then having some separation from historic downtown, or I think that might be worthy of conversation, and I wondered what your thoughts were on that.
Mayor, Council, sorry. You know, I'll say my 2 bits, and I'll let Derek chime in as he needs, just because he has a bit more history to this in the city than I do. But you know, when the changes that were made to downtown, as well as the ones that exist currently, it's not only focused on that kind of historic guideline that we see within the downtown close to the railway. It is truly kind of shaped around an urban form. And, you know, we have, through Main Street and partnership with the city, we have created that historic design guideline that focuses on that core downtown. And, you know, there's a reason we haven't adopted that, because it would be a very extensive adoption, one, but also hold kind of modern builders and people outside of just that core historic downtown kind of accountable to recreating that history in new modern ways of places that could be outside of that. And I think the core of downtown, you know, the current downtown zone goes well past just that historical area that we consider the Ivinson, Grand, Garfield, Custer, and like University. You know, because within our downtown district, we have a full glass facade. We have auto mechanics. We have unfortunately storage units, and you know, all these things that go. Sorry, I shouldn't have used unfortunately. I apologize, but we have all these things that aren't historic to Laramie. And you know, we could make the argument to this case is that the Griffin is more historic than many parts of our downtown already. And so I guess that's what I have to say towards that. But Derek, I don't know if you have anything.
I'm gonna interject just quickly here. I think we all recognize that when we talk about zoning changes, they're always wider conversations. But I want to make sure that we don't drift too far into discussion about what we think the various different zones should be and include, and just try to focus up on maybe specific concerns about this particular change. And I'm not admonishing anyone or reprimanding anyone. I'm just trying to focus up the discussion. Derek, Mr. Cheney from Planning. Hello.
Hello. Following the mayor's lead, I'll be very brief. I think the conversation about our urban areas is probably going to evolve in our community in the next probably 10 years. We are starting to get to that point where some of those areas, such as the Civic Center, are starting to need more in terms of their zoning district. The R3 zoning district just no longer suffices. And I think we're going to see that in other zoning districts as well, potentially some of our residential zoning districts, our downtown zoning district. How we tackle that might be overlay zones. There's a lot of different ways I think that might might come out, might come to be. But I think, specifically for this project and for this request is, what really is the Civic Center and how does it function within the zoning districts that we're talking about and that we have available within our community. And really the downtown commercial zoning district is what fits it. And by name, it says downtown commercial, but by use and by what its intent is to create an urban environment. And so that's really kind of where this conversation has gone over the years and where it's at tonight. So.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman Somerville, it's been a good line of questioning. Do you want to follow up on any of that?
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to say it's getting a little late and my question should have been more pointed. And the question is this: should we consider creating a different type of zoning district rather than adding it to the DC district? So I think they've discussed that, but that was the crux of my question.
Councilmember Somerville, I get you. I understand it. Sometimes it takes a little bit to circle around to focus that up. I think the item tonight is, do we want to go ahead and include it in this existing model to give them some flexibility? I think there's a lot of merit to discussing about questions of what kinds of zoning we may need to create or tweak here and there. Council members, any other thoughts or questions on this item? Councilmember Gabriel, thanks for your patience. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. Matthew, just a brief question, I guess, and some clarification. I spent a number of years on the Joint Civic Center Powers Board, so I have a lot of interest in the Civic Center and followed the development over the years, third floor, and really the way the Civic Center and the mayor used to be the liaison when I was on the board. We'd see him all the time and get updates on what was going on over the years. So I have a lot of interest in this. I was just curious, and you've touched a little bit upon this, the change to the DC district. Would that make any major change to what could be involved with development of the Civic Center, other organizations or other kind of activities in the Civic Center?
Mayor, council, trying to more or less just go back to the use table and kind of realize what might be allowed. And everything that is within the Civic Center right now is permitted within the DC district. And so that wouldn't change their uses. I really can't think of anything that would, jeopardize kind of the feel and the use of the Civic Center that is permitted within the DC district. It really is like you're going to find your uses such as artists, cafes, restaurants, event space, offices, et cetera, everything you find. So I guess nothing that I can think of that would jeopardize what is currently there and would really change the Civic Center as you know it today. But yeah.
And then, Mayor, to follow up on that, Matthew, you said you had some inquiries from individuals or other people around the area, curious as to what the development signs meant, and they seem to be satisfied after your discussion.
Mayor council. I mean, I guess the whole reason for this zoning amendment is to ensure that what is at the Civic Center stays. And so when they learned that it was to basically have no change on the building or the use or the land itself, they were quite all right with it. Yeah, they more or less just didn't really understand what was going on and wanted to understand what was changing, and initially nothing's changing. So yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you, Councilmember Gabriel. Council members, other questions about this item? Comments? I'm going to make a couple, just because I have some long-term familiarity with the Civic Center here, as Councilmember Gabriel mentioned, and it's a unique piece of property. It's a very unique piece of property with kind of a winding history, and some of the city council members here can tell you that at different points over time, there's been a lot of concern about the future of the property and what it was going to be used for and what it was going to do. Councilor Gabriel can tell you, that it's been pretty close to periods of uncertainty a lot over the last many years. But in the last, I would say, approximately 10 years, there's been a lot of real turnaround work there, and a lot of hard work and creativity and kind of investment of both dollars, grant dollars, and people's time and imagination to try to figure out what to do with that place. And I think it's paid off. The Griffin Theater, when we're having live events with a lot of people going to, I mean, that place is constantly featuring our performance. Many of the people that we granted funding to earlier this evening have utilized that place. Relative Theatrics has utilized that. Certainly, music, live music, bands, local and otherwise. And it's really been something that has kind of enriched Laramie as a venue, particularly when we're a little bit shy of venues that aren't associated with the university, which aren't always easy for everyone to use because the University of Wyoming is using them. So it's really valuable. So I guess my point there is that the Civic Center has been really resilient, and they've been really flexible in dealing with their challenges. And I think for them to come to the city planning department and then to the council to talk to us about trying to find some way to be flexible with their zoning is probably appropriate. I think Councilmember Somerville's points are accurate, and I think they're spot on. I almost think that this zoning that this falls under needs to be retermed, downtown and urban commercial, so that it encompasses all of those properties. And I don't know, the planners are going to know a better way to approach that than we are. But it's a unique piece of property. If you think about it too, right across the street is the library. There aren't a lot of other neighborhoods where you've got the Civic Center and the library and the dentist's office. And I think part of the reason that happens is because it's a block away from downtown and other business zoning, and it's just right on the bubble there. So this seems like an appropriate move, but I also think it might be an appropriate move to talk about how we might need to adapt that zoning. And I feel like I'm talking a lot about this item and everybody's ready to move on, but I hope we can provide this flexibility they're asking for. Anybody else on this? Anybody from the public want to comment on this item? Kind of dwindling down on things here. But we do appreciate people's attendance, and Adam, we're thankful you're able to be here tonight, and you could hear some of this discussion too, and maybe take that back and think about that a little bit as to how it might relate to what the Civic Center wants to do, agreements it might want to enter into, or something like that in the future. I don't see anybody else burning to talk about this, so and no public comment, so we'll go for a roll call vote on the item.
Pierce. Oh, sorry. Somerville.
No.
Stelter.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Harrington.
Recuse.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
We have 7 yeses, 1 no, and 1 recused, Your Honor.
And that motion carries. And we will now move on to the next item on our agenda, which is going to be adjournment to executive session. Oh, well, no, it's going to be public comment on non-agenda items. And I think the city clerk was going to remind me, and thank you. And Councilor Schuster's usually pretty on top of that too, and thank you. Do we have any public comment on non-agenda items? Looking, I don't see any hands up. We've got a few people in there though. We'll give it a second. Not seeing any hands up. So it doesn't look like we have any further public comment on non-agenda items. So I'll take it over to Councilmember Schuster.
Do we want to do consideration of future council work session topics?
Dang it, I guess we better. I'm always trying to skip that one. Go ahead, council members. I'm eager to hear about your future work session topics. Maybe one should be downtown and commercial district zoning. Not that I'm making that suggestion. Council members, any future work session topic suggestions? Councilmember Somerville, am I wrong? Do we want to talk about that zoning?
Mr. Mayor, I think you're right. I would defer to the city manager. I know the planning department has more downtown stuff coming up. So I think it's an important topic to discuss. I'd love to put it on as a work session, but I will defer to her.
Fair enough. Thank you, Councilmember Somerville. Anybody else? Any other council members? All right. I think I can safely go to Councilor Schuster now.
All right, I would like to go regarding litigation, Wyoming State Statute 16-4-405, small letter A, Roman numeral 3. So we adjourn to executive session.